What exactly does the Innocence Project do?
Well, we work with inmates trying to help them prove that they're prove their actual innocence to the court and to the public. Typically we do that using new evidence. Our most successful cases have been DNA cases. However, there are some non-DNA cases. Sherman Townsend, our most recent exoneree here in Minnesota, was released from prison based on the word of the actual perpetrator, who came forward to our organization and admitted doing the crime and shared with us a great deal of compelling detail that we were able to verify, and so Sherman was released from prison.
Do you lobby the legislature for legal and judicial reforms?
A little bit. It's not our primary focus at all, but we do see some issues with the law. In particular right now we'd like to see more DNA preservation done, more biological materials saved than are currently being saved by local governments.
How is the Innocence Project funded?
It's all privately funded. We do some grant writing and receive grants from the Bar Association and different universities, mostly through Hamlin. But by far our largest source of funding is our annual ball.
Tell us about the annual ball.
Every year we have an annual ball. We bring in a speaker, a nationally renowned speaker, oftentimes an exoneree. This year we're going to have Scott Turow in, and then we sell tables to local lawyers and law firms. We also have an auction component.
How many people have you helped get out of jail?
We've only got one exoneree that we can take credit for at the Minnesota Innocence Project. Now there's another exoneree from Minnesota who was exonerated before we came into existence through DNA testing.
In the last case with Sherman, was there any unethical behavior by prosecutors or judges involved in the conviction?
Not that I could point to as a specific instance. I do think that the prosecution of Sherman Townsend was a little overzealous. There was basically one witness against him who in fact turned out to be the perpetrator of the crime. The victims in that case could not make an identification. There was no physical evidence, and the witness who testified against him had recanted several times, both to a defense investigator and then later under oath. So I think it was an unusual case to continue to pursue, and that it was tried on very weak evidence, but whether there was a specific item of unethical behavior, I couldn't find one.
Does the state of Minnesota give financial compensation to people who have been convicted of crimes that they did not commit?
Not by statute. We don't know what will happen if Sherman tries to sue the state, if he'll get any money, but not by statute.
Would he have to file a federal suit or a state suit?
He could try either.
Does the state ever apologize to people who've been wrongly convicted?
I suppose they do. They haven't in his case.
Are prosecutors supportive of your effort to find the truth, or do they try to obstruct your efforts?
It really depends on the prosecutor in the case. If we can find biological fluids on a DNA case where that would be dispositive, and the DNA testing wasn't available at the time of trial, we found most prosecutors to be very responsive to that. In the case of Sherman Townsend, where it didn't involve DNA or biological fluids, not as helpful. We were definitely in an adversarial position with them.
Does the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension help you to investigate old cases that had questionable convictions?
Only insofar as that they have the evidence oftentimes, and will sometimes be the organization that does the testing. But we have to be in agreement with the prosecutor before A, they will tell us whether they have that evidence or not, and B, then the prosecution has to be the ones to actually ask for the testing if it's going to happen at the BCA.
How did you get Hamlin to set you up with office space?
Well, the way that most of our cases are investigated is through law students. We have something called an Innocence Clinic where we have actual law students working on our cases, and Hamlin was very excited to offer that opportunity to their law students in a clinical setting. So they've helped us in much to get this sort of a clinic available to their students.
So you give them some experience.
Exactly.
So what's your name?
Sherman Townsend.
Sherman Townsend. How long did you spend in jail?
10 years, 2 months.
Wow.
A little short of 2 months.
I understand it was just by chance, a chance meeting with the guy, that you managed to wind up getting your freedom?
Exactly.
How did that all happen?
He approached me one morning. He'd been there for a while. He approached me one morning as I was standing in the line to go in to breakfast and asked me, "Aren't you Sherman Townsend? Weren't you convicted of burglary 10 years ago in southeast Minneapolis?" I told him, yeah. He said he needed to talk to me later. We got together a little later and he broke the whole thing down to me.
Awesome. And when you were up there in prison, did you have much opportunity to do artwork?
At St. Cloud I did, not at Moose Lake.
Moose Lake. Which one were you at longest?
St. Cloud, by a long shot, 7 years, 8 months there.
Which one was the easier prison to do time in? If that's even possible to say that.
Probably St. Cloud.
St. Cloud?
Yeah.
And I heard in a newspaper story that you're not angry about it, or you don't hold a great deal of animosity or anything like that? Well, you're a better man than me, that's for sure.
You're not going to kill me with that anger.
Yeah, smart way to go. And got anything to say to anybody who ever gets falsely convicted? What they should do, who they should go to?
Yes, go to the Innocence Project.
All right.
And they do a excellent job. So.
Thanks a lot.